Stratford Town Council to order. I'd like to welcome everyone, thank everyone for attending tonight, and for those watching online, thank you for attention to your town's affairs. The first order of business, I'd like to acknowledge the land upon which we gather is the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. We pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. I'd like to welcome Corporal Weatherby. Thank you for coming, Corporal Weatherby. I really appreciate having you here. Second item on our agenda is a declaration of conflict of interest. Anyone? Sure, go ahead.
I do, Your Worship. Item 12D. James is a cousin of mine, so I'll remove myself from that discussion.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Any conflicts? Anyone? No? Okay. We'll go now to approval of the agenda. The agenda is before you. Just one change in terms of the planning file. Councillor Jeff McDonald is away tonight, and Councillor Ron Dowling will be handling the planning file tonight. Any other changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, the minutes of the regular council meeting of June 14th, 2023, and the special council meeting June 23rd, 2023. I don't think, Jeremy, that we can approve the public meeting minutes. Do we have to do that separately, do we? Or is it, can we do the three of them at the same time? Okay, and we also have the public meeting minutes of June 26, 2023. If everyone's had a chance to look at those minutes, are there any additions, deletions, or other changes to those minutes? Anything anyone would like to see changed with regard to those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of all three sets of minutes.
Sorry, I just have a quick question. Am I able to approve the minutes of a meeting I wasn't in attendance of? I just wonder if they should be separated for. I know.
The three. Someone would have been to the three meetings.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
anyone?
So
anyone
I wasn't.
at the three public meetings. At the three meetings in question. For all three. Yeah. Do you want to propose the motion? Yeah. Sure. Or yeah. Do you want to move the motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move the motion to approve all the 3 minutes there on agenda, the council minutes and the special council minutes and the public meeting minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Make
You
that
don't have
motion.
to have been at the meeting to second it.
Okay, I can second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? If not, we'll call for a motion, a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. So those minutes are now approved. Any business arising from those minutes? Anything that I know that we'll not be discussing tonight that's not on our current agenda? Okay, we'll go to any presentations from the floor. Did you receive any notice? No? Okay. We'll now go to my report. It's in your package. Just give you a couple of highlights. I think one of the big highlights was the active transportation plan presentation, proposed plan presentation. I think that will answer a lot of questions that residents have about where sidewalks and trails are needed in our community, and so I think that's a great step forward. Looking forward to seeing that finalized. There was a lot of input provided that night, and I think that's going to be a great thing to have. It'll guide our decision making regarding where sidewalks and trails and active transportation in general is most needed. The annual resident survey results were released during the past month, and I think there's a lot of good information there as well, which will also help guide our decision-making in the coming months. The big highlight, I guess, was July 1st, the celebrations at T Hill Park. I think that was really successful. I really commend the staff and the councillors and deputy mayor who attended, and everyone that and the RCMP officers who were there. I think that was greatly appreciated to have Constable Doucette and Corporal Weatherby there, and the commanding officer was there as well. Chief Superintendent Derek Santusoso was there as well, so it was great to have that presence at the celebrations. And I think in a country like Canada, the mounted police are one of our symbols of our country. So I think it's great that they're at a thing like at an event like July 1st. It really adds so much to the event. Yes, we had 2 MLAs, and we had our member of parliament there as well. You know, a lot of volunteers. It was a great pleasure to make the presentations of Volunteer of the Year to Farhana's Rezai for the Volunteer of the Year, and our Youth Volunteer of the Year was the Stephen J. McQuaid Memorial Youth Award was given to Zoe Sharpley, and the McDougall and McIntyre Senior Volunteer of the Year was presented to Avery Blaxland, a tireless volunteer with the town's Lions Club. So that was a great event, and it went off without a flaw. It was really, and we even got the good weather, so it was great. So thank you very much to everyone involved in that effort. A couple of other things. The Shape Stratford analysis and research and the Intermunicipal Committee met, and there was a lot of good progress made in that on that file, and we will look forward to getting a presentation of their results, and I think it's going to really help in discussions with other municipalities and with the Federation of PEI municipalities to move some of those proposals forward to improve the process for getting new housing put in place for not only for our town, but it's meant to be a template for the whole country. Another big highlight was the greeting the runners and the organizers of the HMCS Charlottetown Run for the Wishes Run. They were at the Sobeys in June, and what a fine bunch of people. They run all across the island in the heat, and they raise money to grant wishes for families with children with great health challenges. So it's a great effort, and they raised a lot of money. Yeah, there's any questions or comments on anything in my report? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Chief Administrative Officer report. I'll ask Chief Administrative Officer Crosby to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's a busy month in June. I'll just go over a few of the highlights. Attended a couple of meetings with regard to the Green Municipal Fund, and we are putting some applications in for that with regard to our community campus. And conducted interviews for the Shape Stratford data manager position, and there is a report in the package later on with regard to a new person in that position. Attended several sessions on the new CMHC fund with regard to the Housing Accelerator Fund. And just want to give a shout out to Scott Cornell. He's prepared a lot of information with regard to that fund, and we are going to have an information session with council here in the near future, and an application going in before the deadline for that. But there is a lot of information on that, and there's a lot of different avenues we can pursue to get funding for that. But it all stems back to us making sure that we do have appropriate housing that's available within the time period. I attended an announcement with regard to changes at Ocean 100, and want to congratulate Councillor Chandler on her new position there. So that was a real nice announcement. Attended a good meeting with folks from the Office of Net Zero and Energy Efficiency with regard to our PACE program, and whether or not there are any synergies we could have with their programs that are going on. And I do think that the letter that we submitted to Minister Myers actually did gain some traction at that meeting, and they will look at that a little closer, so hopeful we'll hear back on that soon. Attended the monthly CADC meeting, lots of good projects going on there. And had a good meeting with the Crossroads Fire Company representatives to talk about the executive positions that are there and succession planning in the future to have someone that can take over the chairman and vice chairman position in the future. And also attended an announcement for the Veteran and Family Wellbeing Fund and the new Trilogy Wellness Center here in Stratford. So all kinds of other things going on, but I'm willing to answer any questions if anybody has any.
I just have a comment, if that's okay. I'd like to congratulate as well Councillor Jill Chandler on her new position with the radio station. But I also like to thank her for being our master ceremonies at the July 1st celebrations. You did an excellent job, so thank you very much for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. We'll now move to the Safety Services Report. I'll ask Councillor Jody Jackson, Chair of that committee, to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. I'll start off, I'll just summarize the minutes of our June 19th meeting. So we had a report from the fire company. I'll get into that a little bit later. But as Jeremy said, we did meet separately with, with the leadership, or the couple of the president and the vice of the fire company. So that was a good meeting to discuss kind of how we move forward there. We had a report from Citizens on Patrol at that meeting. So they were busy this time of year with grad end of school parties and such. And thanks again to Nicole Phillips and her crew, who maybe just Nicole. I didn't see any of the other ones right there, but I know they were probably involved with Canada Day. But everyone who was involved with Canada Day, that was an excellent event, and kudos to all the staff here who did that. The RCMP report. So Corporal Weatherby updated us on several items, including the can throwing incidents, and we may chat about that a little bit later. But as you may have seen, 2 individuals were sentenced this week, I guess, or it was in the paper this week. So hopefully that's a lesson learned for them, and they can get back on the right track. And thanks for the RCMP for all their work on that and solving that. And again, hopefully that changes the path a little bit there. Corporal Weatherby also reviewed the annual performance plan for Stratford and talked about the priorities for the RCMP, including road safety, community relations, organized crime, and overall quality investigations. He also updated us on the new officer and the new vehicle that I think we believe we have now. So that's all good news from the RCMP there. We'll get into that report momentarily. Did discuss further some road safety concerns, a number of areas where there was pedestrian or vehicle safety concerns. I know we're working with the town, with transportation, the RCMP, in different areas to kind of hopefully alleviate some of those concerns, and where we can't, try to reassert our need for those areas to be fixed when there's either some new intersections or roundabouts and things like that. So we're, again, it's always a concern within the town, so we do our best to try to resolve those quickly, and so we'll continue to see where that goes. We did have, as we approved the minutes for earlier, the noise and nuisance bylaw exemption came through Safety Services. I haven't heard any negative comments, so I think that event went well. So we're glad that we're able to recommend that, and council was able to do that for the folks in that area. That's essentially the minutes of our last meeting. Any questions on that? It's just a high level.
Hi, I just wanted one question. I know we've had back and forth, and just in regards to Rosebank Road, since your June meeting,
Yeah.
I think there's been further correspondence with residents, and I just wondered if there was a final update on the speed humps, and their locations.
Yeah, I'll defer to Jeremy there, I guess, or Jeannie.
Yeah, the final locations have been decided. There was some repositioning of one near 26 and 28, and that has been repositioned now and painted. And I think as of Friday, I haven't heard anything further with regard to that area where the actual arrow is showing where it's going. So I believe it is going to be in the proper location now. So we're waiting for the contractor to get back to us, but it should happen fairly soon,
Super.
the installation. So,
Okay, thank you for that
Thank you.
update.
yep, no problem.
Thank you, Jeremy. And Councillor?
Small question, Jody, is just, I don't know if it's information, but with all the crosswalks with the flags, I know they look, it's worn, and, I know some of the stuff on like Bunbury Road
Yeah.
in front of the Cotton Park and then up my way, Bunbury, Mason, and even McKinnon Drive, and then even over across by Sobeys there, how the, I don't know if flashing light would be suffice for all these, I wonder if it's just, will we bring it to the safety services or talk to, or put it on the agenda there for our meeting with the two ministers on Monday.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you support that.
Absolutely. And I think Jeremy's already probably ahead of us on this. I know there's been a lot of discussions with our MLAs here and with transportation, so I know that is probably an option for some areas. But I have full faith that they're going to look at the areas we've identified and any other areas where we think that there may be some enhancements that could happen. There's a lot of folks, especially now with the kids out on the 12 and under, out with bikes. We want to make sure they can safely get through town and sidewalks and stuff like that. So wherever we have an opportunity to improve safety, I would definitely support that. And I know Jeremy's probably on that already.
And I think the youth are really going to be lobbying hard for a flashing light down by the
Yep.
youth center there too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And they made a very compelling case, I think, I think it was actually at the active transportation meeting we had. I think there are a couple of young residents, Wendy knows very well, who made a very compelling case about that. So we fully support that.
Yeah.
That was very impressive.
yeah.
Those two young people, they were just very, very well spoken, and they had prepared ahead of time. And kudos to them for having the courage to stand up and say their piece. And it's good to see kids involved, young people involved in town affairs.
And that's
really
how things
nice.
get done. I mean, it's hard to say no to them. They were pretty precious, the way they approached it. And like you said, they have all their lots of background information to support it. So, wherever we can do that. And that one hopefully will be a priority.
Yeah,
for
it
them.
gets busy down there when
It is.
when
It's-
stuff happens at Cotton Park.
Yeah.
It just gets busy with all the renovations there, the barn being moved now, and the pavement all done, and everything going. It's just going to get busier, and people. It's just it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
And I know I work there, and in flags, and you got to be lit up, and
Yeah.
and there's.
It's a
as,
hub- it's a
Corporal
hub for the-
Weatherby
for
says
the
you got to have
young
a police
folks,
car
so-
there lit up and everything else, right? It's just so
Yeah.
dangerous, eh?
It is. So I think we have that well under control, and if there's any updates on that, we can bring them back to the next safety services or next council.
Yep.
Any other questions before we move on to the RCMP report? I might call Corporal Weatherby up if there's any questions here, but the report was in our package.
I got a small point. Is that okay?
Sure,
The
yeah.
RCMP. Just still receiving a lot of people stop and talk to me or reach out. And about just about speeding in Stratford, it still seems to be a central issue. And I personally, I believe we have the best police force on PEI. Like, I think we have a exemplary police force that works very, very hard. It's really hard to have a police car positioned in one spot for 4 hours, whatever, when you only have 2 or 3 police officers working that day. But yet there seems to be some real targeted areas: Mason Road, Stratford Road, Kinloch Road. We've talked about roads where we're putting speed bumps now, etc. But the speeding continues to happen in these areas. So I guess part of that is, and I guess Corporal Weatherby may want to just make a mention of that. I hate to get you to come up to talk about that, but it seems that we talk about that all the time. And I don't, personally, I think if you had, 20 police officers out on all the roads, it would still, it would still happen. People just seem to put their foot down on the gas whenever they think the coast is clear. So I just thought I'd just throw that out, just because I've been having people talk to me about that.
Yes, Councillor Cox. One thing we talked about at the Safety Services meeting, the last one, was brought up as doing and I have spoken with our provincial priority unit too, our traffic section for the island, starting to do on some of these spots such as Kinloch Road but to do a focused laser operation for a scattered 2 or 3 hour period, just to be able to present back with how many stats we would get during that time frame. So it would be in conjunction with Stratford RCMP and with the provincial priority unit. And like you said, it's hard. It is hard to be able to sit somewhere for 4 or 5 hours. But at least if we could spread that out a bit and try to focus on those areas of concern through the public.
Right. No, and I totally agree with you. I just wanted to bring that up once again, just to put it out there.
Yep.
And but I still fully believe that the residents of Stratford have to self-police themselves, be it if lock your cars at night or not stepping on the gas. Now, there's a reason that on McKinnon Drive the speed limit is 40 or 50, whatever it is on McKinnon Drive. Like, there's a reason that was set, and that's for your safety and for safety of people biking or walking, and so we have to, I think, do maybe a little better job ourselves of making sure residents start self-policing and saying, there's nothing, I'm only going to gain 30 seconds by going 30 kilometers over the speed limit. Look, we have to sort of get that into our residents' heads too. It shouldn't be that you play Big Brother all the time and are always, putting your thumb on top of people and giving them tickets to make them curb their behaviors. I think we all can curb our own behaviors, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does, Councillor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Jill's got a question.
Go ahead.
I always have questions. Are we going through each of the reports that are included in our agenda? So we can go one at a time? So I'll wait.
I just said some highlights, but I think if you have questions for Corporal, we maybe ask away.
Okay. Okay, I have three different questions, and I have been meaning to ask these over the last month or two, but I didn't get a chance to. The first is, I notice in our detailed occurrence count, it looks like occurrences of mischief took quite a jump in June. And when I look ahead, if I'm reading the report right, year over year, that if we continued on this trajectory, that we'd see the highest number in mischief? Or is it just something that you're like, well, it's summer, it's June? Or can you give me a little insight on that sort of occurrence?
That stat jumped to me as well. For the month of June, 27 for this month compared to 11 for this time last year.
Right.
When we talk about mischief, the one thing that may have made this jump, I believe, because it's not just mischief, damage in property, it's mischief to obstruct enjoyment of property as well.
Okay.
So when we get a complaint of someone's playing music too loud in their backyard, it's classified as a mischief file.
Okay.
It's so car speeding, like going by someone's house and it's too loud. If it's obstructing that,
Okay.
it's classified as a mischief. Obviously, the summertime is usually typically leading June, July, August. Usually things do start to fluctuate a bit. The one thing I like about June, there was only one theft from motor vehicle compared to, I believe, in other years and whatnot. We're not getting a lot of complaints of people going through cars.
Right.
But the mischief, that is.
It's big.
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
And my second question is, I always am interested in the Mental Health Act calls, and I noticed that there's a separate listing for wellness checks. So that's not considered considered a mental health call?
Not necessarily. If it's a wellness check, sometimes we'll get wellness checks just on elderly people that are living alone.
Okay.
So it would really have nothing to do with mental health. It would just be to go, and it wouldn't have to be elderly. It could be a relative phoning from Ontario. They never heard from them for a couple
Right.
days. They live alone. So we would just go to ensure safety and make sure that they're okay. And sometimes they just either don't want to talk to that family member, or
Right.
their cell phone was dead. But the mental health, typically the mental health calls is if a citizen or resident calls in, or they can call into the Stratford through our dispatch, if it's something that may have been said online or on Facebook.
Right.
That alluding to self-harm or harming someone else, we would classify that as under mental health.
Okay. And my third question, and this is, I have trouble maybe understanding this report in its entirety. When we're looking at the graphs for the occurrences, and down at the bottom, there's a listing that is other. And other makes up the largest portion of the occurrences. So some are clarified, like this is suspicious, this is Liquor Act, this is that. Can you help me understand what other means? Because it looks like a big portion of the occurrences are other. That's on occurrences by category, other occurrences.
Other,
Yeah,
under municipal bylaw. Other? That could be just front counter type of interactions.
Okay.
I believe it quite possibly isn't, it could also as well be fingerprints, people coming in to do
Okay.
vulnerable sector checks and whatnot. It basically anything that wouldn't
Okay.
fall into those other categories
okay,
of seriousness or whatnot.
okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome.
And a couple of those questions are the ones I had. A couple that stuck out to me were the disturbing the peace. So I was confused whether those were the backyard parties and stuff like that. Is that, they were, I think there was 10, sorry, no, it wasn't 10. But those numbers were up, and then the explosive act, I'm assuming that must have been around fireworks maybe, or?
The explosive acts, there was one, that was one file, I believe, was it not?
Yeah.
That was someone turned in marine flares
Oh, okay.
and whatnot, so we had to secure it. It's classified as explosive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disturbing the peace, it sometimes depends on how our dispatch, how the complaint's received, whether it could be a mischief of obstructing enjoyment of property or a disturbing the peace. Typically, a disturbing the peace could be if it's out in a public area, if there's some issues or being loud or whatnot or unruly, then that would be more classified under disturbing the peace.
Okay. Okay, and just to Councillor Cox's question, I would encourage you, like folks have, just continue to send in if there's traffic, if there's any other things going on, send them in to us and we'll deal with them at Safety Services. But if it needs to be dealt with sooner, we can find ways of doing that. And Corporal Weatherby's always there. And I want to thank him too for responsiveness to some of these areas. We talked about Rosebank, we talked about some of the other areas that had a lot of traffic concerns. He's been there right away to do that, do patrols, and you can see that on the map where a lot of these kind of stops happen. But you may not see, you may not see tickets being issued in Rosebank Road, but it doesn't mean they weren't there trying to deal with some of these things. So I know we have a healthy discussion every meeting at Safety Services. Corporal Weatherby's always been there to do something about it, and I appreciate that. So we'll continue. Hopefully, we'll keep bugging you with those things. But do appreciate. We're very lucky to have him in Stratford, for sure. Anyone else before we move on from the RCMP report?
I raised this, I guess, at the meeting, and I'll raise it here for the record. Just the fact that we'd like to have, or I'd like to have, like to see where we could tell residents how many times patrols had been through their area. It doesn't necessarily have to be their street, just through their area, because that would be able to, then we'd be able to respond without bothering you, Corporal, or Colin, bringing it up at a future meeting, because then we'd be able to just look at the report as they come in and say, well, there were 47 patrols through your area last month, so, and they were all at random times, so it's, it's being covered. It's, it's not being neglected.
Yes, Your Worship. And one thing we do when we receive a traffic complaint for a certain area or street, we even if it's over the counter, or if a resident comes into the front counter, or if it's through a complaint through the town, we create a file on it. We'll obviously we'll make those patrols, but majority of time as well, we consult with the provincial priority unit. There's two that reside in Stratford. They start their shifts in Stratford. So the one thing I'd like to do on top of just creating the complaint, because sometimes, like Councillor Jackson said, there might not be an enforcement there. There was patrols made. Even if whoever is assigned as lead investigator, once say an email goes out to the Stratford RCMP, even if some people respond back to say, listen, I went through there for a half hour today or at a certain time, just so we can kind of keep a running log to support that complaint. Support one way or the other, or just to demonstrate, like Your Worship said, just the visibility that we were actually there, and to be able to come back to the mayor and council here to provide that.
That'd be great.
information.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
If I may, I'll move on to the main side report.
you,
It's in your
Corporal.
package. Standard, community patrols continue. We had one bite that broke the skin in June, and I believe that's been dealt with.
Good one.
Nothing else really there. Deputy, you have any update on that one? If there's no questions on that, I'll move forward. Let's see here. Transit. So continue good news on transit. So we're up. Our June numbers were 218 for the day average, which is phenomenal. And I think in direct correlation to the 3 new runs that we have. So I want to thank folks, Jeremy and the folks here who've been kind of pushing, and council past and present, to get those new runs in, and they are definitely helping. As you can see, the numbers, I'm not sure if the report's up, but they are, every month this year has been essentially above the best of every other year. So things are really good, and so I encourage residents out there to continue to ride, especially these new times, because that's the best way for us to substantiate that we do need these new runs, and that we want to keep them and maybe enhance them even further later on. But again, 218 a day, really good for June. So keep up the good work, and things are going well there. Any questions on transit? Sure.
I've asked this question a couple of times, and I'm happy to see that the ridership is increasing. And one can assume that the addition of new runs has added to the extra volume. But we never have been able to acquire any information on specific bus runs, right? We've never been able to see the occupancy. We have 100% occupancy between 7:30 a.m., et cetera, or the afternoon bus is at a third full. Like, do you think that's ever a possibility, or no?
Jeremy?
I just feel, I guess, as we continue to advocate for more transit, it would be great to see that we are having usage throughout the day, and be able to trace the increase, or should there be a decrease in ridership to specific times a day.
We receive statistics similar to what you receive in your package. The only difference that we receive are the bus route 7 and bus route 8. We receive how many people per bus per day.
You do?
We receive that one once a month. It doesn't show at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 9 o'clock in the evening, what the numbers are on those buses. Well, we can request that information to see if they have that, but that's not anything I've ever heard in any of our meetings, but I'll ask that question.
It'd just be
they
interesting.
break it
I'm
down.
sure that, like, if it was something that was willing to be shared, I'm sure that the operator would know the occupancy levels
Per
of
hour,
each run.
the morning runs, afternoon runs, et cetera.
Yeah, and I think
Yep.
to that, I worked with the transit when they started, and without having someone actually monitor, I'm guessing that it's still the same way, but they're counting tickets at the end of the day, and to have somebody, you'd have to have someone on to actually kind of count traffic.
Okay, there's no digital scan, there's no,
I'm not aware of that, and I think that'd be the limitation on it, but I know it'd be great to hear. But even by route, if we could get the kind of daily totals, the odd time might help, but I think it may be asking a lot just based on how the system's set up, but
Okay.
we can always ask.
okay.
But, and I agree, it would be good to know. Any other questions on transit? If not, I'll move on to the fire company. So I touched on this a little bit earlier. So we met, Crossroads Fire Company board met on the 26th. We went through our calls for June. So we had, there were 17 calls in June, majority of them again are in Stratford. So again, motor vehicle accidents, medical first response, some false alarms, a couple miscellaneous fires. So it continues to be we're keeping them busy with lots of things, especially folks within Stratford. Just kind of reporting back, the fire company dealing with a lot of kind of heavy impact of Fiona last year, the cost to the fire company on the high number of calls, high volume of calls that occurred within the days and weeks following Fiona. So I think they're not the only one across the province. I think every fire company has dealt with the same thing. But it did lead to a substantial reduction in or an increase in their costs for last year. So not really for the town to do anything with it, but I would hope that government somehow will take a look at the impact on some of these fire companies and see what the difference was actually in their bottom line with their response to Fiona. And they were busy, never said no to a call. So it was a substantial link. They had about 60 calls in the short period right after Fiona. So just stay tuned on that one. They may be bringing that up at some point. Again, we had the meeting with the chair and vice of the fire company talking about transition planning there and going forward. And I want to thank those gentlemen who are still with us on the board, but just the volume of time that they've spent, Dave Milligan and what's Dave? There's 3 days.
Dave Swan.
Dave Swan. So just, in having
Dave
sat
Pan.
around, Dave and Dave, haven't sat around that board table now for a few months, 6 months or so, just the history and the information that they do have. There's some new members around the table, so hopefully we can find a way to help transition into some new members there. But I do want to thank them for their continued service and to all the other fire company members who continue to answer the call. I think that's it for my report, Your Worship, unless anybody has any other questions.
Just on that Fiona extra cost
Yeah.
for the fire company, I know the town in an indirect way pays the costs for the fire company. I was just wondering if there's any possibility that would be covered under our insurance claim. It can't be because it will end up being an extra cost for the town. But there's no way we can address it that way.
No, the fire company has their own insurance plan, and it's not covered under our plan whatsoever, so they're a separate entity altogether from the town.
No, I just thought the damage they had to respond to in the community, that would be community damage that the fire companies contracted by us to do. But anyway, we can have a discussion offline about that.
They could put a claim into the province the same as we do. We could talk to them about that, but I don't know if even,
Oh, okay, so that's
another avenue
And I
they
think
might be
that's
able to
something that
do,
they should
but.
look at. And I wasn't asking for any action here, just to bring it up to let folks know that it was a significant impact on them.
So is it fairly substantial? Like, is it quite a bit of money?
Yeah, it
Well,
was.
maybe it's something we can talk to our representatives about.
Yeah, it might not hurt.
Okay.
And like I said, they're not the only ones, but when you take about 60 calls, on top of all the other stuff, that's a significant amount, significant draw on the resources and their time, their energy. So I just hope that it can be recognized at some point.
Okay, thank you.
That's all it was.
Any other comments or questions on Councillor Jackson's report? If not, thank you for your report, Councillor. Okay, we'll now move on to Recreation, Culture, and Events, and also Chair of that committee, Councillor Jill Chandler, to give her report.
Okay, thank you. In regards to our committees, the Recreation, Culture, and Events Committee was scheduled to meet on Thursday, June 29th. However, we didn't have enough committee members available, so we did still meet and use this kind of as an information session, and we updated members on capital projects, Canada Day events, the active transportation plan, et cetera. Arts and Culture Committee met on June 8th with agenda items including budgets, annual artist bursary, annual arts award, fall fest, public art installations, and teaching opportunities. In regards to the Stratford Youth Centre and Council, the Youth Centre drop-in program and most clubs and programs are now closed for the summer. Registrations will reopen for the new youth centre, or the new youth centre season that begins on September 1st. The youth centre had a total of 67 members over this past season, and many of them that fulfilled their volunteer hours or their volunteer requirements had a trip to Magic Mountain this week, and I'm told it was a big success. So congratulations to those youth. And I want to highlight, and this is significant, and I feel that residents should know this, youth center members contributed more than 3,274 volunteer hours during their season. So I feel that they deserve a round of applause because that's significant. And they contribute to a lot of the things we do here in town and make a difference in people's lives. The annual kickoff, the summer raffle, this is held by the Youth Center, was a great success. I think there were over $3,280 in ticket sales, and prize winners were Bill Nicole, Judy Matheson, and Nancy Smith. The revenue raised from the raffle will be used to fundraise for the Youth Center Leadership Club trip in 2024. The Youth Center, as we spoke of earlier, is currently still working on its project to lobby the provincial government to improve the crosswalk on Bunbury Road in front of Cotton Park. Public art, we now are anticipating the installation of the Art Garden, which is a piece by artist Island Ryan, and that's going to be installed this month at Robert Cotton Park. The Arts and Culture Spring and Summer Programming, the Youth Art Programming, Let's Get Creative, which is led by Ryan McAdam, is running now through August 26th at Town Center Stage. There are currently 3 different adult art workshops being offered, July, August, and September, at the Gertrude Cotton Building. We spoke on the success of the Canada Day event at T Hill. I'm told that we had approximately 3,000 people in attendance. I think the event was really well received. I want to give another shout out to the town staff who worked so hard to put these events on, as well as our volunteers. And I also wanted to add that I got some really positive feedback from residents who attended, and in particular, they highlighted the event's diversity, and they were really pleased to see that. So congratulations to all involved in organizing that. Again, I wanted to recognize our recipients of the Volunteer of the Year, Avery Blacksland, Farah Rezai, and Zoe Sharpley. Additionally, wanted to draw attention to the photo display in the lobby here at Town Hall. We asked residents to document a day in the life, Canada Day, and I think we received 34 photos. So they're on display in the lobby, and they'll also be posted, or perhaps they're already on our Facebook. Yeah, or soon. They're coming to our Facebook. Planning is underway for the Fall Fest, being held September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th at the Robert Cotton Park. More details on this festival will be announced in early September. I wanted to let you know that the Town of Stratford Annual Artist Bursary Award has been established, and this is aimed at assisting Stratford residents who are entering or continuing fine arts education. So I'm very excited about this. This is a first for us. Wanted to give an update on the programming that continues to operate in the town. We've, of course, got baseball, soccer, and softball, and we have programs here at the town, including the Intro to Skateboarding program. Pickleball continues at Kinloch Park, and the Stratford Summer Camp. Wanted to just give a little overview. I know we've had some communication with various stakeholders in regards to some of our fields and different recreational areas. And I know that our town staff are working very hard on any of those issues. I also wanted to highlight that I know that in some instances we are working with our insurance providers, as many residents are, who have suffered damage as a result of Fiona. And there are some delays. So we too are at the mercy of some of that, and we'll continue to update you. Wanted to send a shout out to, there was a few Stratford residents who are members of the provincial under-14 All-Star Atlantic soccer team. They were in Newfoundland last week, and they won gold. So that's significant. Yes. To them, yes. The PEI cricket team left for nationals in Toronto earlier this week, and this group would be made up of members of various teams that play at T Hill. So we want to wish that group the very best. And finally, a big shout out to Stratford residents Mia Cooper and Mackenzie Gass. And these girls are dancers with 24 strong, and they traveled to Portugal to participate in the Dance World Cup, and they won a gold medal in their dance trio. And I wanted to highlight that this is the only gold that Canada brought home, and this competition included thousands of dancers representing almost 50 countries. So it's a pretty significant accomplishment for those girls and that dance organization. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions on Councillor Chandler's report?
I'd like to add our Stratford resident Zach McCune signed a 3-year contract.
That's right.
With the Ottawa
That's right.
Senators.
That
So
is significant.
Congratulations, Zach.
Yes.
Yeah, and I believe we had two people from Stratford selected in the NHL draft. Was it Squires?
One's the Squires, yeah.
Yeah. And I
He's
can't
an
remember the
Islander, but not a
names.
Stratford resident.
Pardon?
And Luke Coughlin, but not a Stratford resident, right?
They're not Stratford residents?
No. Oh, well, Jeremy, no. He's in the game.
Regardless,
the
we
paper must
send
have been wrong,
congratulations
said-
to them all.
Okay, the newspaper said that they were Stratford residents. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I know that there were some Stratford residents selected in the Q draft. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes, there were. And that would be Caden McGuigan. We have Hudson Bradley. Who else do we have? There's Ryan Dwyer and more.
Yeah.
Congratulations
No,
to
it's
them
good,
as well.
it's good.
And yeah, and we have to highlight that many of these kids that have made it in the Quebec Major Junior Draft, as well, traveling elsewhere, they have gone through programming, whether it's at Pownell, soccer here in Stratford. So
That's right.
it's important to note
Yeah.
the foundations that they've had.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you for your report, Councillor Chandler. We'll now move on to Finance and Technology Committee. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Ron Dowling, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just give a brief overview of Director Kim O'Connell's activity, as well as her staff over the past several weeks. She attended the Climate Adaptation Workshop, and staff are busy working with the auditors who were in the field to do their work on files, and staff continue to respond to the auditors in regards to any questions they have on the files, and we expect that audit to conclude very soon. That's our annual audit.
Yep.
The utility billings have been prepared and sent out and will be due August 21st, 2023. And staff continue to work on the public schools branch lease renewal, as well as with different departments on the application of the Housing Accelerator Fund. Director O'Connell attended the Kerry Board Annual General Meeting, as well as the annual resident survey results presentation. Staff continue working on the Fiona disaster insurance claim for various town properties, and we hope at some point that'll be wrapped up, but it is very much an ongoing project. And staff remain busy with day-to-day tasks as well. The Finance and Technology Committee regular monthly meeting was held on June 21st, 2023, Your Worship, and the unapproved minutes have been circulated to members of council prior. So I'll just open the floor if there's anyone have any questions in relation to those unapproved minutes, of which there will be one resolution stemming relating to our fees bylaw number 39, shortly. So if there's any questions, we'd be happy to address them.
I just have one question back to Kim's report there, Ronnie, Councillor Dowling. Just the Kerry situation. I wonder if, I know we put money into it every year. I wonder if there's any discussions of like having a Stratford day, just one day only, price is different or something, a special, or, it'd be nice to be included in it, in Kerry. Well, I know we talked about it months ago and years ago, and Kim talked about it, and we're always, I know is there an appetite for the board to receive that and go with it?
I can mention it again, like we're a small partner on the pool side of the building.
Yeah.
But I can mention it to see if there is an appetite for it.
Yeah.
I know I've raised it several times with Chief Administrative Officer Crosby and also with when Robert Hughes was CAO. We raised it several times, and we never got any traction with it. Like you say, Kim, we're not a big player in the scheme of things, but at the same time, it would be nice to get that recognition somehow that we do get something for the money that we're spending. The idea was, I know we contributed on the capital side and also on the operating side. If I'm not mistaken, is that true, Kim?
We just give them a set amount towards the capital side.
Building the facility, yeah,
building,
yeah. And
yeah.
we also contribute a percentage based on our population compared to Charlottetown's, I believe, isn't it? No?
No,
It's just based on a
Ours
set number.
didn't change. Like
Yeah.
ours is just, it changes by CPI each year.
Yeah,
We don't have to contribute towards the operational side.
no, okay, just a set
You're
amount.
a partner, right?
We're, but we're not a senior partner, I guess you might say. So, we haven't received any traction on it, but it could be raised again, I guess.
Yeah, I can bring it up.
Some kind of a recognition that we do contribute, and it is, it is a substantial amount of money. It's like $17,000, so it's every year, and it keeps going up with inflation.
You're doing a business plan, your
Yeah,
partner
yeah.
contributes in it.
No, we can raise it, I could ask that it be raised
Yep.
again, yeah,
Yep.
sure.
Thanks. Thanks, Kim.
Yep.
Are there any other questions?
The only thing I might add is that you mentioned that finance was discussing the financial aspect of the Housing Accelerator Fund. And I think it's great that staff in different departments, there's so many files that cross departmental lines, like the Housing Accelerator Fund is in planning, but it's also considered by finance. And I know probably sustainability looks at it. There's a whole lot of, infrastructure implications. So the staff in each of these departments work together to they're not siloed. They work together, and it's a great team approach, and we end up with a good result. So I just really want to recognize that teamwork is really important and really, leads to a lot of success.
Yeah, I think we can tell just by the monthly agendas that we receive each month that our CAO takes very much a collaborative approach with his directors and the directors with their staff.
Yeah.
So we're very fortunate with that management model that we have going through the CAO's involvement with the staff.
Okay, you have a resolution?
First, I have, just wanted to mention.
Oh,
we have the
sorry.
town
Sorry.
income
Sorry, I
statement.
think Jill, or Councillor Chandler had a question.
Okay.
Sorry, did you encourage us to ask questions in regards to that resolution now?
No, this is
There'll be a
just
discussion
anything in
after
relation
it's
to the
moved, yep.
unapproved minutes that have been circulated. But we will get to the resolution shortly, and it'll be open for questions by the mayor. Any other questions in relation to the minutes? Okay, the town income statement, your worship, has been circulated previously as well. So if there's any questions in relation to that document, or those documents.
Do we usually have the utility income statement as well?
Yeah, usually it's in there. I'm not sure. Why not today?
I just checked in my email. That was a mistake on my part. I forgot to send them to, they were done, but I didn't send them to Mary. I included all the other ones, but utility wasn't in the
It's all
attachment.
good? It's good?
It's all good, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
We are looking at possible rate adjustment, though, are we? Or is it still, the rates are covering our costs now with the utility?
We won't be changing our rates till we look at next year's budget again.
Okay. No, I know
But the rates
that.
did go up this year on the utility
And the reason
side.
was to cover the operational, so we're
That's
we're
correct.
still operating sort of pretty well on a,
Yeah.
we're paying the bills, but we're not making too much profit or whatever.
No, we're not making.
Okay, thanks.
And any profit, as it were, goes into contingency funding for any expansion projects that might come up that we'd be able to cover off through that fund rather than continued increases. But it
Yeah.
is something we look at from year to year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no questions in relation to the income statement. Your worship, I'll move on to the resolution. It's Town of Stratford Resolution FT 011-2023 Fees Bylaw, Bylaw number 39, revised Schedule A. And I will point out, Your Worship, that the revised Schedule A has been attached to the package as well, and is located below the resolution. Stems from the Finance and Technology Committee. It's moved by myself. And whereas council established a fees bylaw, bylaw number 39, to set fees for licenses, permits, programs, facility rentals, and other matters. And whereas Schedule A of the bylaw contains the fee amounts that can be amended by simple resolution. And whereas the town completed a comprehensive review of Schedule A since a review had not been done since 2018. And whereas the fees pertaining to Bylaw 45, Zoning and Development Bylaw, will be reviewed at a later date, and whereas it is desirable to amend the fee schedule, be it resolved that the attached revised Schedule A to the fees bylaw, bylaw number 39, dated July 12, 2023, be hereby approved. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Finance Committee from a meeting held on May 17, 2023, and the Committee of the Whole from a meeting held on June 28, 2023.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dowling. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Discussion.
Okay, I have some questions, and I know that we have had conversations on this, and that we did have further conversations at our recent Committee of the Whole. When I look at the language used right now in the fee bylaw, which says, whereas the town completed a comprehensive review of Schedule A, since a review had not been done since 2018. So when we chatted in our meeting, I was under the understanding that the fees have changed over the course of the last years, correct? There has been moderate adjustments over the last few years. So right now, when I look at the language in the bylaw and I look at the revised Schedule A does not reflect that changes have occurred. So for me right now, I feel as though I would be agreeing to a jump from the amount in 2018 to 2023, where there have been incremental changes, to my understanding, over the last few years. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was my understanding as well.
So I don't know, I felt like I understood where we were, I understood our discussion, and I agreed, and I do support the idea of, well, just inflation, and like I know things, I support that idea, but right now I feel that this document does not reflect the discussion we had.
Yeah, and there was procedural error, I believe, in relation to not bringing the bylaw forward for renewed amendments over those past couple of years where there were modest increases, and staff are aware of that, and they have committed to bringing forth for review all of our bylaws on an annual basis in order to make a determination as to whether there might be any changes that would be affected. And certainly changes to a bylaw such as this ought to be brought before council, first committee and then council for resolution to reflect the changes. So you are correct, there was a procedural error in those increases in years prior, insofar as that they weren't brought forward for resolution at the time. So this is, in essence, playing catch-up to that in a large part. And there was a review, staff did very carefully review from year to year the bylaws and provided those increases in accordance with what they felt would be sustainable. The omission was not bringing them before the committee for resolution.
Yes, and I understood that. And I guess right now, if I was to vote on this and I look at Schedule A, it looks like I am approving the $5 per player fee for all our players to go from $5 to $15 today. And I don't think that's accurate. Correct?
Well, the resolution, if approved in accordance with Schedule A, would bring it about to the proposed amounts on the far right-hand column.
There's no proposed amounts. And it was my understanding that there was
Or the updated
a
amounts, I should
$5
say.
per player fee that then went to a $10 per player fee and now is going to a $15 per player fee. So I'm just looking for that assurance because I don't see it reflected in the
Yeah, and I
document.
think a media person would probably come to the same conclusion, looking at this, that it's doubling and
And she
It's
is a
me.
media person.
Sorry.
So we can't show Schedule A with those other, like, the column of $10 because the fee schedule has not changed by resolution of council since, yeah, exactly. So each year we have, in certain areas, like we've increased it to the $10 per year. It went through Recreation Committee, but we didn't do the fee schedule update. So I can't put that on this here schedule.
Okay.
I guess the confusion may be that there's nowhere that you see what the actual today's fee is, and now that it's going, and we know what it's going up to.
Yeah.
But we don't see anywhere in any document. I don't know if an addendum is possible or
We could just put it like
in
more on our,
brackets or something.
like as a like something on our website or something, just an attachment to it or a part of the media release or something, just more information, but we can't add it to the schedule.
We have to make it clear that we're not doubling or tripling fees, that
Right.
they're going in an
Yeah.
incremental way.
Yeah.
I got just a point there to make, I guess for Jeremy Pierce asked this question, but I know in hockey, for example, there's like kids sport and there's all kinds of ways to
Yep.
subsidize if your family can't afford to pay for certain things.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's probably the same sort of thing in Stratford. If you can't afford a $10 increase or something, I'm sure there's someone you can talk to and say, this is what's happening with our family. Would that be correct to say that?
Yep.
Well,
I noticed the recreation director was nodding his head.
yeah. I know the optics there, but the way society is, especially post-COVID, and I'm not saying that everything should be increased, but $10, I mean, there is going to be increases in the way society has changed, and we have to look at all aspects of that. I'm not a proponent saying that families should be hit with increases in every sector, but I'm just saying we have to look at the optics. So I'll leave it to Jeremy.
Yeah, we don't collect the fee individually from each of the athletes participating in a program. We collect it from the organization that's administering the program. Any individual that faced financial difficulties in paying the fees would go through their association, through respective organizations like Sport PEI or whatever, or Kids Sport, to apply for that additional funding. So they don't do it directly through the town.
Okay, that's what I thought too, yeah.
Okay, there's 2 points, I guess, back to Councillor Chandler's point. I guess it's important if we can somehow provide the information about what the actual fee is today and what it's going to. I think that would address, and that can be provided after the fact. I think I recognize the fact that you can't put it in if it hasn't been approved by council. You can't actually put it in the fees bylaw, or, showing it on this document. But if you could somehow provide that information, that would be great. And the other thing is, actually two other things. Each of these increases have been discussed with the associations and have been agreed to. I believe there were some further discussions with the Soccer Association. Is that right, Jeremy? Yeah. And that's now been resolved. That these are all accepted by the associations. And the other thing is, I guess, from the town's perspective, these fees are based on a cost recovery basis. Is that right as well, Jeremy? Yeah. So we're trying to just recover the costs of providing these programs and services to the town. So we're not making any profit on it, but we're trying to recover our costs. And with inflation and everything, it's only natural that we do have to make increases from time to time.
And I think it's fair to say, Your Worship, that there really is no full cost recovery in relation to recreational services provision. You do what you can as a community to try
Take the
to
harm
make it
off.
as affordable and equitable for the residents as possible in order to help offset those costs, in order to in turn be able to provide other services and such throughout the community. But I think Councillor Jackson was waiting to say something there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate we didn't follow the procedure on this, but I'm fine with going ahead. These fees are what they're paying, or my understanding is what the associations and a lot of other folks are paying now. But I think it's important to make sure we do update this as required. So it's tough to see the difference with the new one, Councillor Chandler, but I think the explanation, I understood, I'm comfortable with the changes. I think they're fair. I think the fees are fair. I know we're not. I know they have incrementally increased in between the approval of last Appendix A and this Appendix A. So I'll be voting in favor. It's frustrating if we don't follow procedure, but I know we will from now on. There's nothing new in here fee-wise that hasn't been communicated or hasn't already been in place. It's just kind of making sure that the file is complete. So again, I share the same concerns. I do feel fine in approving this, but I do want to see these next time in good time before we go to approve them.
Right, because in theory, we would approve the fees before they are changed or reflected to our partners, right?
Yeah, and I'm confident that'll happen from now forward. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I'll just reiterate, Your Worship, as well, that staff have committed to explaining the discrepancy as it relates to the wording of the resolution, insofar as that the fee increases have occurred and it's not one large jump from 2018 to 2023. So it's a very good point that was brought up, and I think that will help residents to understand where the increase is coming from, insofar as that it's over a period of a number of years and not just one increase in 2023. And I know staff will work to get that communicated to the residents as well.
Okay, thank you. The only other point that I would make before we vote is that these are also based on comparisons with other similar municipalities. Other municipalities charge similar amounts for these programs and services. And that's, I guess I'll just put the question to Jeremy. Jeremy, that's the case, that they do, these are comparable, probably favorably with a lot of municipalities. Yeah. Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, motion carried. Okay, we'll now move to Planning, Development, and Heritage. Thank you for your report, Councillor Dowling, and for the resolution. We'll now move to Planning, Development, and Heritage. And I know Councillor Dowling, in the absence of Councillor Jeff McDonald, Councillor Dowling has agreed to handle the Planning, Development, and Heritage file tonight. So I'll ask him to give the planning report.
Sure, Your Worship. Planning Development Heritage regular monthly meeting was held on July 14th, 2023, and the unapproved minutes have been previously circulated to members of council. And there's another number of items on there that will be brought forth in relation or by way of resolution this evening, but I'll first ask if anyone has any questions in relation to the unapproved minutes as circulated.
I think July 4th, I think you said 14th.
July, did I say 14th?
Yeah,
No,
4th,
July,
like,
July
it's small.
4th, yeah. So that- July
Future.
4th, 2023. Yeah.
Any comments or questions on the minutes? I guess not.
By way of summaries, Your Worship, the permit and building permit, building type summary and the building permit summaries have been circulated previously for review, and we would address any questions that council might have in relation to those documents.
Yeah, and we got just a little over 19 million year-to-date compared to 24 million last year. So we're creeping back up to get to the point we were previously. Any other comments or questions on the permit summary?
This report, I'm not as familiar with this, but it looks like the permits for single-family dwellings is, where do I find the comparison this year versus last year or the year before?
First line of
First line.
YTD, single-family year-to-date is 4.290,000, and last year it was 16,247,500.
Right.
But we have a lot more in the in
Town or-
row houses and in commercial. Oh no, we had a lot more in commercial last year. We had 2 million in commercial this time last year.
Thank you.
Okay, no further questions. Your Worship, I'll move on to 12C. Town of Stratford Resolution PH 016-2023-DP 056-23, special permit use agritourism from the PEI Federation of Agriculture 10903 Trans-Canada Highway. Stemming from Planning and Heritage Committee, moved by myself, whereas an application has been received from the PEI Federation of Agriculture, PEI-FA, on behalf of Mackenzie Produce to host Breakfast on the Farm, a one-day event scheduled for Saturday, August 5th, 2023, between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., located on parcel number 289-587 and 105-3123. The event is considered an agritourism and recreational use, which is a special permit use within the Agricultural Reserve A1 zone. And whereas pursuant to section 15.1.3b within the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, prior to the issuance of a development permit for a special permit use, council shall ensure that property owners within a 61 meter or 200 feet of the subject property are notified in writing and asked to provide their comments, and ensure that a public meeting be held to allow residents to provide their input before making a decision. Whereas on June 15th, 2023, 20 notification letters were sent to property owners within 61 meters of the boundaries of the lot, and a public meeting was held on June 26, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Stratford Town Centre, and was also live streamed on Facebook and YouTube. The public were given until noontime on June 30th, 2023 to provide comments on the proposed special permit use. No written responses have been received. However, one resident phoned in support of the one-day event. Be it resolved that approval be granted to an application received from the PEI Federation of Agriculture on behalf of Mackenzie Produce to host Breakfast on the Farm, a one-day event scheduled for Saturday, August 5th, 2023, between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., located on parcel numbers 289-587 and 105-3123, subject to the following conditions. One, that the event be held in conformance with the operational plan submitted on June 26, 2023. An operational plan is included, Your Worship, within the package. Two, in accordance with the comments received from Department of Transportation. A, unless working at the event, all participants shall attend the event via the shuttle service operating between the Stratford Town Centre and the subject properties. And B, any advertisement or posters related to the event should clearly indicate that attendees must use a shuttle service to attend the event. And three, that a portable lit messaging sign be arranged at the discretion of the Department of Transportation to function as a traffic calming measure along the Trans-Canada Highway near the property. Four, that the Stratford RCMP be notified of the particulars of the event. Five, that all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 are met. And six, that the approval be valid for Saturday, August 5th, 2023, between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. only. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Planning, Development and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 4th, 2023. And I'll just add, Your Worship, that those conditions are there as safety measures for the traveling public and for those that are attending the event as well.
Okay, thank you. So it's been moved by Councillor Dowling. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Oh, I don't know who got there first. Sorry. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anything? Any comments, questions?
The only thing I think is just pivotal that the public, in a proactive way, understands that it is a shuttle service to get there, because, as you know, when an event happens, especially if it's in a very, very high traffic area, that some people are going to say, "Oh, what's this happening over here? I want to go to that," and they're going to attempt to pull in. It's a very, very busy road, so we have to make sure that we have the proper people in place, so that we don't have just cars trying to pull in and cause havoc. So, and I think the word's getting out now. I think we just continue to do that it is a shuttle service.
Yeah, and I think if you lose the example of the 70-acre yard sale or 70-mile yard sale on the Trans-Canada Highway, there's a lot of danger situations, people parking along the road and 90-kilometer-an-hour roads, and there's a lot of danger there. So if people use the shuttle service, it'll be
Right, and the time is almost
They have to
exactly
use the
the
shuttle
same
service.
as 8 o'clock in the morning to 11. It's pretty much the same as a 70-mile yard sale. So a lot of people may have the same kind of mindset, so we have to make sure that that's not the case.
Yeah, so,
I think Wendy will have communications out there about it.
yeah, and I think if the RCMP are aware and if they have a presence there, I think that'll help things out as well. It's only for 3 hours, so it's not, it's not a long time.
And the proponents as well, Your Worship, will be communicating that transportation methodology to people who are making inquiries about attendance as well, so.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure there's lots of on-site enforcement, because.
And I'm fully supportive of this event, by the way. I think it's excellent. I hope we can
Yeah.
do it every year.
Yep. All right, any other comments or questions? Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, you have another resolution, or, actually, you have a number of resolutions here, don't
There's
you?
a number,
Yeah.
Your Worship.
Yeah.
12E, Your Worship, is Town of Stratford Resolution Number PH017-2023. DP083-23, Stratford Auto Tirecraft, addition to existing garage, special permit use, 7 McKinnon Drive, PID number 942243, stemming from Planning and Heritage Committee, moved by myself, whereas an application has been received from James Perot, owner of Stratford Auto, to construct an addition 56 feet by 40 feet, or 2,240 square feet, to the existing Stratford Auto building located at 7 McKinnon Drive on parcel number 942243, approximately 0.74 acres. The application is considered as intensification to a service station and activities related to the automobile trade other than a scrapyard or auto body shop use, which is a special permit use within the town center commercial or TCC zone. Whereas the property is located within town center core area and must be designed in accordance with the provisions of the TCC zone, particularly section 13.4.7, commercial zones adjacent to residential zones, and appendix E, core area design standards, town center core area, TCCA, parts 2 and 3. Whereas pursuant to section 15.1.3b within the town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, prior to the issuance of a development permit for a special permit use, council shall ensure that property owners within 61 meters or 200 feet of the subject property are notified in writing and asked to provide their comments, and ensure that a public meeting be held to allow residents to provide their input before making a decision. Whereas on June 15th, 2023, 13 notification letters were sent to property owners within 61 meters of the boundaries of the lot, and a public meeting was held on June 26, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Stratford Town Center, and was also live streamed on Facebook and YouTube. The public were given until noontime on June 30th, 2023 to provide comments on the proposed special permit use. One written response has been received expressing concerns regarding waste and debris along the rear of the property and excessive noise in the mornings and occasionally on evenings and weekends. Be it resolved that council shall grant approval to the application received from James Perot, owner of Stratford Auto, to construct an addition 56 feet by 40 feet or 2,240 square feet to the existing Stratford Auto building located at 7 McKinnon Drive on parcel number 942243, approximately 0.74 acres, subject to the following conditions. I just want to make a quick note here, Your Worship, before I read those out. One, in conformance with the conceptual drawings submitted to the town prepared by Coast Designs and Inc. dated June 15th, 2023. And there are a number of attachments to Section E, Your Worship, including a property map and a site plan and building plans for the building. That was previously circulated for Council's review. And two, that a development agreement be executed between the town and the applicant subject to such terms and conditions as Council deems necessary. Three, a detailed servicing plan must be submitted for approval to the Stratford Utility Corporation. Four, a detailed stormwater management plan must be prepared by a qualified engineer and approved by both the town of Stratford and Department of Transportation. 5, a detailed landscaping plan must be submitted by a qualified expert. 6, a detailed erosion and sedimentation plan must be prepared showing how erosion and sedimentation will be controlled and contained during construction. 7, all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 are met. And this bears a resolution this bears a recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 4th, 2023.
Okay, this resolution's been moved. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Okay, any discussion?
Just want to make note, Your Worship, that on the resolution itself, in Section 5, we will be deleting a portion of it. After a detailed landscaping plan must be submitted by a qualified expert. And then there's another line after that that is to be deleted. And also on the date of the discussion of the resolution, on the resolution, it says July 4th, 2022. I read it as 2023, which is the accurate date.
Yep.
So that should be amended as well.
Okay, those will be corrected in the final version, so
Yes.
those amendments are okay with the seconder? Okay, thank you. All right, so we've got a move.
Did you want any
motion.
discussion on that or anything?
Yeah, I want to have a discussion. I was just going to say it's been moved and seconded. We'll have discussion. Any comments or questions?
Just one. I think, first of all, I think Stratford, we're very lucky to have a facility like Mr. Perot's, a business, Stratford Auto, McKinnon Drive, and he's been there for an extended period of time. And I think in knowing James as I do, as being an upstanding person, that I guess the concern about the person behind him, and I guess I have a recommendation, just to, you probably know the person or you know what they're talking about, just to we should always, all of us, be good neighbors, and it's hard when you have a business backing onto a public or to a private individual's place that you have to sort of. So I guess just a recommendation there, just to kind of work things out with any neighbors, and always be a good neighbor, and makes for a better partnership if you can do that.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. And I can say that the proponent, Your Worship, has had discussions with staff in relation to putting a enhanced vegetative row or trees, if you will, at the back of the property to further dampen noise, as well as to provide a fairly extensive cleanup. In fact, the area behind the ditch, as it were, behind the property will be in far better condition when it's all said and done than it is now. But I see your planning officer is here. He wants to make any comments in
Planning
relation to it. The director, sorry.
I just want to say that I've met with Mr. Perot on the site a number of times when we've walked the site and talked about it, and the conditions, or some of the conditions that are listed in there, are also discussions that we've had on the site, so he understands his responsibility. The key is to make sure we put that in a conditional format, as we have, by requiring a development agreement and a landscape plan. And the rest will kind of take care of itself in the conditions inside those two documents. Yeah. And they're not strenuous to the point that they're unreasonable. I think it's a matter of just making sure things proceed in a way that they should proceed, and the site is going to look and function the way it should look and function. So that's the primary reason for those conditions. And there was some planning board members had gone to the site to look as well, to make sure they understood the dynamic, and that's why we had the conditions stated that we do.
Right on.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I guess one of the things about the whole discussion was that it wasn't so much a matter of the addition, it was a matter of the business in general. So that was interesting to see that it wasn't, it was something that, that has been resolved, and my understanding is, or it's be in the development agreement. Okay, any other comments or questions?
I have one question, because I often have trouble understanding the aerial maps or some of the pictures that are attached. So the addition, does this impact anything in where your customers will exit onto McKinnon Drive? No, it doesn't change driveways or anything?
The access, I guess the question is about the access. The access will remain the same?
Does anybody know that answer? Dale, do you?
It will.
I will? Nothing changes? Okay.
Yeah. Nothing will change on the site. It still will be accessed by the same ingress egress point,
Okay.
as you can see there on the,
Okay. And then, yes, I just have trouble with this stuff. And I'm finding McKinnon Drive, in particular, maybe where we had the construction on Kinlock Road, there's quite a volume of traffic on there now. And I noticed that there's a lot of people that use the back exit of Sobeys, making lefts, et cetera. So your entrance into the business is still the same, and that won't shift there. Right?
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
No, I attended the public meeting, everything was well organized, a great presentation by Mr. Perot, and Dale looked after everything, all the questions were answered, even noises in the weekend, the question was answered. They're not going to be working weekends unless he has to, and everything else. And this is, for example, a great business that started years ago and expanding, and it's nice to see. And hopefully we'll approve that tonight, so nice to see keeping our business in Stratford.
Okay, with that, unless there are any other comments or questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, I guess we can, somebody can get,
I'll let Jody know.
Jody can come back. Oh, you're going to let him know?
Yep.
Okay, good, good. Okay, we'll now move on to, thanks, James. See you.
Thanks, Shane.
We'll now move on to the next resolution.
12E, Your Worship, Town of Stratford Resolution PH 018-2023-DP084-23, public meeting, intensification to a special permit, use warehouse, Kinlock, easy storage, Jeff Kirkpatrick, proponent, at 15 McKinnon Drive, PID number 1133289, stems from Planning and Heritage Committee, moved by myself, whereas an application has been received from Jeff Kirkpatrick to construct 2 self-storage buildings, 9,810 square feet in total, in phases on parcel number 11033-289, approximately 1.29 acres in total area, located at 15 McKinnon Drive. There are 2 existing self-storage buildings on the property, therefore this application is considered an intensification to a warehouse use, which is a special permit use within the town center commercial or TCC zone. Whereas part 1 of the proposed phase will consist of a 4,150 square foot building, or 188 feet 8 inches by 22 feet, and part 2 will consist of a 5,660 square foot, or 188 foot 8 inch by 30 foot building. This property is serviced with municipal sewer and water and contains no surface parking. This development is located within the town center core, TCCA, and must be designed in accordance with the provisions of the TCC zone, particularly section 13.4.7 commercial zone adjacent to residential zones, and Appendix E core area design standards, town center area, TCCA parts 1 and 2 parts 2 and 3. Whereas pursuant to section 13.4.3b within the town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, prior to the issuance of a development permit for a special permit use, council shall ensure that property owners within 61 meters of the subject property are notified in writing and asked to provide their comments, and ensure that a public meeting be held to allow residents to provide their input before making a decision. Be it resolved that council shall hold a public meeting on Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. in order to provide an opportunity for the applicant to present the proposed use to residents and obtain their input regarding the intensification of the special permit use of a warehouse. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Planning, Development and Heritage Committee and is polled via email on July 4th, 2023.
So you move that motion?
I do, Your Worship.
Yep, okay, and so it's been moved, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Okay, any comments or questions? Public meeting?
Let's
Public
make
meet-
note, Your Worship, that the site plan and building plans are attached to the package for council's review.
Yeah, and I guess we will get a chance to discuss that at a future meeting, but the public meeting, is everyone in favor, or does anyone have any comments or questions about whether or not this warrants a public meeting? Like under the bylaw, I think it's required, so if there's no comments or questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, next resolution?
Yeah, the next resolution, Your Worship, Town of Stratford Resolution Number PH 019-2023-DP 229-22, Studio Braho Architecture Revision to Part 3 Commercial Building, 8 Myrtle Street. Stemming from the Planning, Development, and Heritage Committee, moved by myself, whereas a resolution to an application has been received from Studio Braho Architecture to construct a 21,428 square foot commercial building, 18,428 square foot commercial area, and 3,000 square foot commercial area, which shall remain vacant per condition 2 below on Lot 1C, parcel number 1021617, approximately 1.17 acres in total area, located at 8 Myrtle Street within the Business Park M2 zone. Whereas the 21,428 square foot commercial building will be fully serviced with municipal sewer and water and contain surface parking for 61 vehicles. Whereas the property is located within the Mason Road core area, MRCA, and must be designed in accordance with the provisions of the M2 zone and Appendix F core area design standards, Mason Road core area, MRCA parts 2 and 3. All aspects of the conceptual designs plans submitted have been reviewed and meet the design guidelines as noted. Be it resolved that approval be granted to a revision to an application that has been received from Studio Braho Architecture to construct a 21,428 square foot commercial building on Lot 1C, parcel number 1021617, approximately 1.17 acres in total area, subject to the following. 1, conformance with the conceptual drawings submitted to the town prepared by Studio Braho Architecture dated June 21st, 2023. 2, 3,000 square foot commercial area shall remain unoccupied and vacant until such time that an alternative parking plan is approved by council in accordance with section 10.1.3. 3, a detailed servicing plan must be submitted for approval to the Stratford Utility Corporation. 4, a detailed stormwater management plan must be prepared by a qualified engineer and approved by both the town of Stratford and the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure.
It's DOT, this DOT.
Well, yeah, by the Department of Transportation. I think there is an actual title change in relation to that, but
Yeah.
it's Department of Transportation on infrastructure renewal. Yeah.
Oh, DOTI, okay.
A detailed landscaping plan must be 5, a detailed landscaping plan must be submitted by a qualified expert outlining the, do we need the rest of that as well, Director, on 5 on this one? And on number 5 on this, did you want to stop that in relation, after qualified expert as well?
I think it's okay in this instance. We're not
Okay.
doing another rating of any sort.
Okay. 5, a detailed landscaping plan must be submitted by a qualified expert outlining the details and quantities of materials to be used. This plan shall show a minimum of 10 60 millimeter caliber trees and 40 square foot landscaping beds. 6, a detailed erosion and sedimentation plan must be prepared showing how erosion and sedimentation will be controlled and contained during construction. And 7, all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 4th, 2023. And there are attachments in section F as well, Your Worship, with floor plans and elevations and site plan, building plan, and exterior renderings.
Yep. Okay, maybe ask for, it's now been moved, so I'll ask for a seconder.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, now maybe we could have a look at it or have a little discussion about it.
That's a site plan. If we can get, more importantly, to the elevations that show the colored renderings. Keep going. There should be some colored photos coming in there, Wendy.
I think it's the next attachment.
Yeah, yeah. No, not the site.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so this is the more current look at the building facade. As you can see, it's a pretty simple design. It has a little bit of an articulation on the bottom left-hand corner design for the front of the building. They've changed the colors from what was blue before to a more browny orange color there. But primarily, and they've got some awnings on the bottom part, but primarily those are the biggest change. The exterior cladding is still going to be the same as before. It's a composite paneling kind of siding, so it's going to be the same, just a little different color change. Can we flip it to the previous slide that shows the blue color? Should be, no. No, that's the more recent one. There we go.
That's what it used to look like.
So if you can scroll it up some, Wendy, I appreciate that. As you can see, the blue has been replaced, and in most cases, it's been removed, and there's a smaller version of the color to the blue to the orangey brown color. And again, it's similar articulation, except the bottom left-hand corner, you can see there's a wall part there at the end. That's removed in the new design, so there's not a whole lot of change. Like I said, the exterior is still the same. It'll function the same. So basically, it's a subtle change, but nonetheless, it's still a revision.
So in terms of size, it'd be about the same as a reactive health building?
Yeah, around that size.
Yeah. And this is in the business park?
Yes, it is. I think it's 2 lots up from the medical center, PEI Medical Society, same side.
Any comments or questions? I know we had a good discussion about this at Committee of the Whole, and I think there was a lot of good points raised.
Yeah.
All right, anything else you'd like to say about this?
No, I think that's pretty self-explanatory in the drawings themselves. I mean, the only difference would be is the amount of usable space inside. They couldn't meet the total parking spaces. That's why there's going to be an area inside that will not be developed at this point in time. If they can provide an alternative off-site parking plan or some way to meet the parking requirements, then fine. But as it is, they know they have limited parking spaces, and they'll provide that.
So once they get an occupancy permit, it's for the whole building though, isn't it?
It can be with a condition attached to it.
Okay, so you give them an occupancy permit with those
There'll be a
6,000 feet
stipulation with that.
excluded. Yeah, okay.
Correct.
And in order to fit up, they would need to get a permit for that, for
Correct.
that 3,000 feet, and then get an occupancy permit for that 3,000 feet whenever we get the parking permit, their parking agreement finalized.
Right.
Okay.
And could the 3,000 feet in the meanwhile be utilized for storage?
It could be. It depends if the storage is something that's going to be stationary there for quite a while internally and not require a lot of movement of traffic.
Because, and the reason for this is that the relationship between, or the ratio of parking spaces to commercial space in terms of the size of the building, it works for everything but 3,000 square feet for this building. So I
Correct.
guess they have 61 parking units, parking spots.
Right.
In order to use that 3,000 square feet, they'd need probably another 10, would that be? or
Around
five?
that, yeah, around that much, yeah.
Yeah.
Dale, I'm having trouble understanding this. It seems to be my way tonight. Are we asking them, they're not being held to the same standard, the parking standard that was in place?
No,
It's a fewer space as
fewer
as
spaces.
per our
right,
vote. Okay.
yeah. But they can't utilize a certain percentage of the building to meet that requirement. So they have to either provide a future plan that shows either off-site parking or an expansion of the site by way of purchase of other land to expand it to accommodate additional parking.
Or leasing space from another adjacent park.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is commercial space.
It
And
is.
when we discussed way back, when we were looking at the parking requirements for residential space, right? Like in our zone, like when we were looking at the new, like we talked about.
But the
should
new
there be-
zone, you mean?
Yeah, the new zone. Should it be full space? Should it be half a space, 0.75, et
Right.
cetera? And at one time, we were going to ask for no parking requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And we considered that. And we're looking at the way of the future and thinking that we're asking for less or needing less parking spaces.
But this is not in that zone.
Right. I understand that it's not in that zone.
Right.
But using that same way of thinking,
Mhm.
that eventually we're going to be requiring commercial spaces to have less parking.
It's a possibility, but that would have to be an amendment to the bylaw to do that.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll call for the question then. All those in favor?
All right.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Councillor Dowling. Had a long, a lot of work tonight. Put you to work tonight, for sure. Okay, I will now move to item 13, infrastructure. I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant to, he's the chair of that committee. I'll ask him to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. Well, just noticed today, they're still cleaning up from Hurricane Fiona on Mason Road, so everything's continuing. I guess the closing date was June 30th, but I guess the extension. The multi-purpose paths along Kinloch Road is, landscape is remaining. If you've noticed that coming out of Sobeys and so on. Work has commenced on the paving the Trans-Canada Trail along McIntosh Drive and Hollis Avenue. Improvements to the section from the underpass to Shakespeare Drive and from Wilmsgate to Mason Road are not completed as yet. You know, we had a budget there of $250,000. We're under that budget, and I was out there today, and it's a beautiful trail there from Mason, right from Mason Road, right out to Fullan's Marsh, right across. It's and they had a couple of benches there, and there's 2 speed bumps, so it's great. Went for a walk on it, and right down to Fullan's Marsh, and it's perfect. And talked to a couple of residents on the way, and a lady there with a stroller. She said, "Great with a baby stroller. It's a lot easier for pushing, on the pavement, eh?"
Yeah.
So it's nice. So and then Ostrich Brothers have completed the relocation of the barn at Cotton Park. The barn now rests on a new concrete slab floor, enhancing the stability and structure integrity from the barn. Moving the barn has opened up space to create more parking on the grounds. A tender for paving the area will be issued this week, with work anticipated to be completed this end of the summer. That's when they moved the barn there. Got some parking spots. Looks nice. The structure, tin roof, steel roof on the barn there, and they did some paving in the entrance of Cotton Park, and it's really good job there. Work is ongoing and progression on the community campus site. The high school tender for the site works has just closed, so we anticipate additional construction activity on the site in the next few weeks. An RFP has been issued to engage an engineering consultant to design this extension of the force main from the Corey Sewer Lift Station to the gravity trunk main. Funding has been received from the municipal strategic component of the Canada Community Building Fund, enabling the project to proceed. Of course, infrastructure have been busy with the following: ongoing maintenance and town-owned properties, sport fields and trails. Outside staff is busy with grass cutting, trimming, gardening, painting, and so on, landscaping. Preparing and setting up for Canada Day celebrations at T Hill. Great work by staff and maintenance, recreation department. Sidewalk maintenance repairs is underway in several areas throughout the town. Interviews are for hirings for summer positions. Bylaw complaints and investigations are ongoing. Temporary speed hump applications are being processed. Second mobile data collection trailer is now in service. There are 6 sets of speed humps installed to this date. I know I have one on Harlingview Drive, and everybody loves it. So, and sewer and water infrastructure maintenance and inspection is ongoing on a daily basis. The water and sewer inspections and water turn-ons for a new development. I'm just going to ask Jeannie, can you to explain? I don't know if you went on the site. Did were you with Jeremy site at with the construction here?
Sorry, which site?
Yeah.
What site are you referring to?
The site, the campus site? Did you have a tour? Do we have a tour? I mean, Jeremy, just a comment, just to elaborate on the tour and how work's started and how far we are with it, and
So it's been a
some
couple.
good things and bad things about it.
It's all good things. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been out there. It is kind of rough to get through there, so, but they are progressing well. They've got pipe work and sewer manholes installed now, and much of the roadway sort of laid out and grubbed, and a lot of the erosion and sedimentation control measures are in place, and it's a lot of work happening on the site, and a lot more to occur as the as we mentioned, the high school tender had closed just yesterday, so we're anticipating that work to be awarded and have their contractor started there as well soon. So, no, it's busy, but it's going well.
Is there any talk about a drone? I saw some emails about a drone flying over and sort of.
Our consultant had took that on themselves and sent a drone up and took some photos, so I think we shared those. We haven't discussed internally about looking into that, but it is something we can talk about, having that done, sort of to track the progress.
Yeah.
I just had a question about the, I didn't see the new water tower in here. Is there plan? I know that's in our budget for this year. What's the status of that?
There wasn't a real update to provide this month, so I kind of took that out of the report. There's sort of been a longer leeway time for finalizing the design drawings, but they are looking to get all the permitting in place and get out there started in the next few weeks. We're definitely doing that work this summer and fall.
But it's already been tendered and
yes.
we've already hired the firm to do it.
Yes,
It's just a
yeah.
matter of getting started.
We have tendered a design build contract,
Okay.
so Graterio are doing that work for us.
Great.
Yeah.
Super. And I guess as soon as we hear about funding for the waterfront, we'll be proceeding with that as well.
We have, yeah.
Finalized, yeah, as soon as it's finalized, yeah.
Yep, we have the funding secured, a little less than what we were hoping for, but we are moving forward with that package. We're hoping to get that out to tender next Friday.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great.
So if all goes well and there's contractors out there wanting to do the work and able to do the work, we're certainly hoping to see that activity within the next few weeks.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Can I ask one question? This just jogged my memory. In the infrastructure staff, if a resident has a complaint, a bylaw complaint, and then they are referred to the RCMP, and then the RCMP does that investigation or what have you, is there a loop that closes in communication from a complaint that comes into us and that gets referenced outside to handle it?
I'm going to say that if they're contacting the RCMP would close that loop. If it's us relaying the information to the RCMP, we would stay included and be able to close that loop. I guess I don't know with reference to what that might be. I wouldn't know how to
I guess if a
answer
resident
that.
had a concern and it came in through the town and then it was referenced to the RCMP and the resident wasn't satisfied with the resolution, would we at the town know that the RCMP didn't proceed anywhere? Or like, is there any sort of final closure? Or do we assume if it's gone that way, then it's done?
I suppose if we are suggesting that they contact RCMP themselves, we would then kind of be out of the loop unless they came back to us and said this wasn't resolved, then we could get involved again.
And if they did do that, because the RCMP didn't resolve an issue, and they came back to us, and we'd already referenced the RCMP, then what would be our next course of action?
It's hard to answer that without knowing the specifics, of course, but,
Sorry.
I mean, we would follow up with the RCMP, I suppose, if we thought that they hadn't engaged in the bylaw or enforced the bylaw.
Okay.
We would certainly follow up with them. I know that there has been, with newer staff, there has been some confusion as to what they should be enforcing within our
Okay.
bylaw.
No
So-
problem.
So we're trying to instill, through Corporal Weatherby for sure, getting him to share the bylaw and what their responsibilities are with any new staff that come on.
Okay.
So I don't know if that is what maybe you're referring to or not, but
Okay. I don't, okay.
our CAO may have something more to add.
Jeannie did a good job there of explaining it, but there have been cases where there has been gaps with the RCMP. The residents have come back to us. We do address that with the RCMP, and Corporal Weatherby has been quite good to fill those gaps afterwards. But if there's anything that you have that is outstanding, let us know, and we'll definitely
Okay.
deal with it for sure.
Yep, thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, any other comments or questions on the infrastructure report?
Just about the speed humps, Your Worship. Deputy Mayor, it's great to hear they had them in Harlem View. Are there any, I know we had some complaints around Kelly Heights and obviously from Mason Road and some other areas. Just wondering if they're all out or if there's any left to be determined yet this year.
I can try to add to or explain that. We do have 6 of our sets deployed right now. We have 15 in total. And currently, I think we only have 3 requests on file that need to be assessed. So we go through the process. We set out our speed radar signs and go through the monitoring before the humps get deployed. So I don't recall that Mason Road or Kelly Heights was one of the requests that came through. But if they were, the signs would be deployed and we would go through the process.
Yeah, and I'm not sure they were, just
Okay.
you may hear from them. but,
Sure.
Especially from Councillor Cox, but I encourage you to.
We did relay, I think maybe it was after last month's council meeting, that there was some concern on the Kelly Heights
Yeah.
traffic. So we relayed that on to the province, and they assured me that they would include that in their traffic counts for this summer and sort of
Yeah.
see what that looks like, so.
I think too, a lot of times people will approach you and talk to you about this, and they believe, okay, you take care of it.
That once
And-
they talk to you, it's
Right,
taken
even
care
though
of.
we will say, you need to put
There's
in
a
a
process,
written
yes.
form and follow
Yes,
the process.
right.
Be it an RCMP issue, be it a town issue. And that's part of what we do as councillors, direct them to the appropriate measures that they have to, the next procedure.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, a lot of them don't go
Right.
farther than talking to us. And they
Right.
just remind us next time they see us at Sobeys that nothing's changed.
Yeah.
I've had people
Yeah.
say to me, well, I've reported it to you, I'm not going to do it twice, so
Right.
you tell them.
That's right. Thank you, though. Thank you very much.
Of course.
On the speed humps there, they have 6 sets. Is there, could we get more information on the area we put? Is that conflict there, or could we just say where they're at in our town?
The actual locations?
Yeah.
Can we? Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, like
Can
the-
I at this
We
moment?
got 6
Probably
sets
not.
out, Yeah, I'm just, I'm just
Off the top of my head, I
Joe, you had a
can't.
question here earlier, like talking about Kelly Heights and anyways, but I'd be nice to see 6 sets and where they're at.
Okay,
10
so you'd like to see that reported on as they're deployed? Is that what
Yeah.
you're asking? Okay, we can provide that,
Yeah, thanks.
for sure.
I don't know if we need them as they're deployed, just to maybe,
In real time. No, I'm kidding.
just an idea where they are, just in case we do have questions, I guess, but not a mandatory, tell us beforehand thing.
But out of interest, has the demand for speed bumps decreased? Because at one time, I felt like people would call and they'd be on a waiting list because they were all
Yes.
deployed.
So that is because of the policy that we have in place, and we didn't have a policy before. It was basically call in, request it, you go on a list, and we just worked through the list and deployed them. After 30 days, we would remove them and put them in the other location and just went through the list. Now, because of the policy, there's a set standard that the speeding percentage of vehicles speeding has to be, I think, above 15% before it would warrant the speed humps being deployed. So is there less requests? Like, I don't know if that there's less requests, but more of them are not meeting that criteria, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe, Jeannie, that's the kind of information that'd be great to have for when we do get these requests.
Yep.
That it's not just. we
It's
throw them
not just
down.
ask for them and they'll go
Yeah.
out. No.
Yeah,
The-
if you could- if you
The
could just
policy
give us
is.
a little bit on that.
Yeah, so on the website with the paperwork to request the speed humps, the policy is all there as well that explains.
Okay.
So the resident looking for them will know, or
Thank you.
if they read through it, will understand what the process is and how they get
And I
looked
guess
at
that
and
might be
reviewed.
the closure item too, that when they are assessed and it doesn't look like they meet the criteria, if that information could.
It always gets conveyed back to the person
Okay,
requesting.
it is,
Yep,
it is conveyed back to the.
it is,
person. Okay.
absolutely, yes. Yeah.
To the person requesting.
To the person who requested the speed humps, yeah.
Yeah. That's good, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I understand the pilot project that's being conducted would give us a better indication long-term as to whether that is an effective mechanism to start with, and maybe something that we have to dispense with down the road if it's not. But otherwise, if it is, it might be something worthy of further investment by the town as well, so it's left to be seen.
It is left to be seen, hopefully sooner rather than later. We understand that our contractor should be ready to install the permanent speed humps either this week or next. So that would be great, and we'll be able to get that last piece of data, and the province will have their information. I think that will, as you say, if it's effective, which I hopeful it will be. I don't know how it couldn't be, but if they're proven to be effective, that'll be a helpful decision-making tool for them moving forward. We obviously still will need their permission to install in any streets, but once those requests go through in the future, they'll have that information, and hopefully that'll speed the process up for them.
I think one of the other issues we deal with are I think it's more of a communication challenge than a logistical challenge, is the fact that if people had a speed hump on their street last year, they expect as a matter of course it'll just be reinstalled this year.
Right.
And they're really surprised when it's not, and so they ask for it, and if it doesn't meet the criteria, then they're disappointed.
Right.
So,
And traffic patterns can change, so even if you had one last year, we'll go through the same process and monitor the traffic and get our sign out and see if it's warranted this year or not.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks for your report, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, we'll now move on to Committee of the Whole, and the report is, the minutes are there. I guess there's no resolution. Yeah, it's, minutes are in your package. Any comments or questions on the minutes of that meeting? We don't need to approve those minutes, do we? No. Yeah. So if there's no comments or questions, we'll move on to sustainability. And I'll ask Councillor Gordy Cox to give his report, chair of that committee.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, just to reiterate there, the Sustainability Committee has agreed once again not to meet over the summer, but we'll hold our next meeting in September. In the meantime, some staff level items are being completed as follows. The Stratford parks are being enhanced this month with more than 50 new trees. They are being planted to provide shade and enhance our urban forest. Our wonderful community gardens continue to operate at full capacity with 90 gardeners. This summer, the gardens received a large-scale upgrade to the now 10-year-old infrastructure through the additions of new wood chip walkways and new wooden boards. More upgrades are planned in the future as well. Work continues on the forest management plan for the town with engagement between council, staff, committee members, and key stakeholders planned for later on in July. Staff is continuing to work on the action items related to the community energy plan, including efforts to secure funding to install solar panels on the emergency service center, heat pumps at the Conton Center, and other buildings which could use energy upgrades are being looked into. The residents are reminded that they can continue to access a free home energy audit as well as assistance to navigate their financing rebates and energy projects through the SWITCH program. However, all funds to finance projects have been used up, and that is our second round with the SWITCH program. The joint RFP, which request for proposal, is currently open between Stratford and Charlottetown to set up an electric bike sharing program between the two communities. And I know both Charlottetown and Stratford obviously are looking at docking stations on both ends and how to make that work, how to provide to make that work, and also how the rental basis will work for that also. Through this project is being led by the infrastructure team internally. It was felt that the sustainability committee would be aware of what was happening and also would give some support. And we will, of course, as the chair of that committee, once we meet in September, we will obviously add as much help as we can to that program. Charlottetown, Cornwall, and Stratford, the process of establishing a contract to review and improve the entire transit program is ongoing right now, which means looking at routes, growth within each community, new roads going forward, and more access for people to switch to alternative forms of transportation from vehicles. So that is happening right now. So Stratford not only we're trying to, I'd stay away from saying partner, but we are looking to establish a working relationship with Charlottetown and on two different ventures, and one of them also includes Cornwall. So although Sustainability Committee is in meeting right now, there is still a lot of things happening in the area of sustainability, and we'll continue to over the summer, and we'll keep you updated. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, commend you on all the progress we're making with regard to our sustainability file. I think it's great that we're slowly but steadily moving towards reducing our carbon footprint.
Yeah, exactly.
Any comments or questions on the report?
I just have a comment there. I wonder if Councillor Cox, can you add this? With the heat pumps and the Cotton Center and so on, I'm all for it, Emergency Center. Could we add one to our Stratford seniors? We have 16 units there.
Sure, we could look
know,
into that for sure.
you
That
know,
could be open for discussion.
The price of oil is going up in fossil fuels, and
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll get
would-
Kim to come forward here.
Kim would support that, I guess, because we have a great oil bill.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Kim?
is a separate organization. We'd have, like, the Stratford Seniors Complex is completely separate than,
Okay.
yeah.
But certainly could look into that and open for discussion on that. That's a great idea, to tell the truth, and we could look into that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
And the question on the e-bikes now, is there, with Charlottetown e-scooters, total chaos, no bylaw, nothing there, no helmets on, driving, are we going to look at a bylaw for our e-bikes here if we're going to share with Charlottetown?
yeah, that's also part of the ongoing talks with Charlottetown as far as making
Okay.
sure that what if we believe, as far as something with the e-bikes, if helmets or whatever, that it's established, it's uniform between the two communities.
Yeah.
That's part of the discussion, right?
Yeah, but is there a,
We'll let Wendy. answer.
I know what you're saying, but to buy it like restrictions there, like, is that a town project, or is it liability for us,
Provincial.
or a private?
Provincial.
Provincial
Provincial?
helmet bylaw, I think, go ahead.
Okay.
Wendy, go ahead.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The province, through the Highway Safety Act, legislates helmets and who needs them and on what devices, and then it's up to be enforced by police and that sort of thing. E-bikes are 16 and older. You have to be a licensed individual. I don't know if you actually have to be licensed, but you have to be, yeah, I think you do actually for an e-bike. So all of those requirements will be in place. Yeah.
I do think, though, the rules are in place, but as Wendy said, enforcement, I have a pretty good view of downtown right now, all morning, and I can honestly say that I haven't seen anyone wearing a helmet on a scooter in my view plane. And they go fast and they interact with traffic. So eventually, although the provincial mandate is there, perhaps it will be something that we will look at as we go forward. Maybe.
When we had the presentation in Quebec on the e-bikes, it's a whole system that comes with these, and the RFP is going out now, but there is like a helmet station that's associated with it, and I think you have to have a helmet in order to get one of the e-bikes, from what I understand. That's how they had them run in Quebec and other jurisdictions, so.
A lot of times you have to unlock the scooter and take a helmet. But right now, every morning I see at least 3 helmets on the corner of Fitzroy. Like, so they're there. Like, you might take it, but it doesn't mean you put it on your head. And they're tossed and then they're picked up later. So anyway, that's another discussion, but it is a safety concern. They move.
I think the private firms that are running them right now there's not a lot of regulation around it, and I think that will come through highway safety. I think they are looking at that now, but the ones that we're going to do with Charlottetown, there is going to be more regulation around them and requirements, so, but we'll work that out once we get the tender results and see if the RFP is favorable for us to look at it. We're getting a lot of demand, though, for these, and as the waterfront park develops, certainly we'll want to have more of that for tourism here, so yes, there will be some safety concerns, but we'll try to work that through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the area you're looking at, Waterfront Park?
Like, this is a costly venture, obviously, and Wendy, I don't know if you want to mention, but I know the tender process, and the tenders that, you still have to wait through the tender process and see what happens there, and just to make this work for Stratford and Charlottetown, like this, the sooner we can get this in place, the better. I think sometimes it feels like we're pushing the envelope a little bit, but I don't think we are. And other major cities, major towns have this, and but we need Charlottetown. But I say push. We need other communities to agree with what we want to happen, and we want this to happen right now. If that makes sense.
Yes, great report. Excited about the e-bikes. I think we'll have better, I don't know, use of helmets over here. I think it's one of those things. It'll take time, but I don't think it should stop us from doing it. I think it's a great idea, I think that was it. I just wanted to remind folks too, I think Wendy sent it out today, the tree planting on Saturday, the watershed group's having. So if you're not signed up for the list, it's a good chance for all of us. I'm going to try to get out to plant some trees. I think it's at Kinloch Beach. Just to show our support for them, but thanks. Great report, Councillor, and great to see these things moving forward.
What time is the planning again on Saturday? I know it's early.
Yeah, I'd like,
Pick me up.
Who are you again? Sorry.
The RFP, who decides the RFP, Charlottetown or Stratford?
I love just doing this. So I get extra support.
If Ted's interested, people have applied.
Oh, it's a great question.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of information on it because I did have a look at the RFP and sort of made comments on it before Charlottetown issued it. There will be a team reviewing the RFPs, and we will have representatives, at least 1 or 2 from Stratford on that team to review them. They are closing, I believe, on this, I want to say the 17th, I'm not sure, 18th? Yeah. Yeah, so the RFP is sourcing out a firm who can provide the infrastructure, install the infrastructure, and then provide like a 5-year operational service agreement as well. So we'll. It's just Charlottetown and Stratford. Yeah. Oh, you're asking if it's on the provincial government website? I don't believe it is. I didn't see it there. It's on the Charlottetown's website. I don't know if they posted it to the provincial. Yeah. We will be at the table, absolutely. Yeah.
If I could add one more thing, I forgot to mention that the Forest Enhancement Program, the FEP, I think residents, especially if you own 1 hectare, which is 2.47 acres, you should go on the province's site and check out what is being offered for people that are looking to plant a significant number of trees back into their private forestry land. So for the landowners, they should look at the FEP, which is on the provincial site, and especially with the federal programs that are slowly coming out to support people who need to want to replant, like say 300 trees. So you could replant 300 trees, but you have to pay, in essence, like $1 a tree. But you would get like 300 trees through this program. So, because there is people who have approached me and said that, 5 trees from the watershed group is great, but it doesn't replace the, 250 that they lost. Now, these are smaller trees, but they will help you to plant them and to bring them to your area. So it's just something I think, especially if you own a hectare or more, you should be aware by going on the provincial site.
Okay, any other comments or questions on the sustainability report? I have a question about just wondering where we stand with regard to the tree bylaw. If I understood at one point that we were going to require, if a tree was cut down, and maybe this is the planning, I should have asked this during the planning process, but I understood that at one point we were moving towards the idea that if you cut down a tree, you plant a tree somewhere else.
So, I don't know how many, 3 or 4 years ago, we instituted the first part of that, which is the bylaw that we have for our own properties. And we surveyed residents at that time to get some opinions from them as to where they were on the scale of accepting further restrictions, but nothing's been done since then. So that would have to be an item that we would look at through our upcoming strategic plan, if that's an agenda item that council want to move forward with. And because it would require a fair bit of consultation and staffing. So that'll have to be something that comes up for discussion.
I think we don't want to lose that. I think it's important to residents that we do move towards that vision of an urban canopy and replacing trees that are lost through development. So especially with this number of, the scale of development that's going to be happening over the next couple of years, a few years, that it'd be really great if we could get that bylaw put in place so that, we'd have to do public engagement and that sort of thing, but I think it's really important, and it's something maybe we can talk about as part of committee of the whole, and then we can include in a strategic planning exercise, which we plan to do hopefully in the early fall, hopefully in mid to end of September or early October or thereabouts, somewhere in that time frame, so that we have our strategic priorities identified in good time for budget discussions. So
yeah, I know the city of Charlottetown is struggling with this in the same respect, and they're working on this the same as we are. But I totally agree with that, especially with all the construction building that's happening. And I've been doing some research, different municipalities, and a lot of the municipalities I've read about what they're doing, especially make sure that the landowner, the construction company, whatever. For example, if they have to plant next X number of trees, that those trees have to be maintained for 3 years. Mm-hmm. So if anything happens, those trees, if they die or anything else, the company is responsible to replace that tree and take care of it for a period of at least 3 years. Yep. And that's part of what they put in their development. So that's something I think we have to start putting together, is what we expect from our new neighbors, and that's something maybe Dale can comment on.
Well, a little more of a conversation around what some jurisdictions do is they require a clearing of property permit before you start construction on a site based on the site plan you're submitting. And what will happen is that somebody from sustainability or the environment will go out to that site and look at the area that's being cleared for the basement, to put the foundation in sort of thing, and also look at the work area that's needed to build the house. And then they'll selectively clear the rest of the trees on the lot, retain the healthy ones, remove the ones that aren't healthy. And that gives a better perspective of a full-blown lot when it's all done as far as being vegetated. It also helps with the stormwater runoff on the property, soil erosion, downwater, red water kind of thing. So there are benefits of doing that. But other jurisdictions have approached that, and they're working on it from a clearing of property permit. That's the start of your development, going to the site and assessing it.
Thank you. Thanks, Dale.
Okay, Will, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the position or location of the trees, I guess, is going to be important too with climate change, anything else. And I know if I was going to plant some new trees, I wouldn't want them, I want them so far away from my house, right? Because if they're coming down, right? So that'll be all worked out. I know what you're saying, but to give the opportunity to our residents to replenish that, right?
And I'd like to see maybe in September, but having some experts come in and for residents to be able to come here like at nighttime and talk, what kind of trees should I plant? I know birches don't last. What can I plant instead of a birch? Maybe it's a white spruce or whatever it is. But to have some people come in from the forestry industry to help some of our residents understand as they move forward, what are some non-invasive species that are good to replant in their areas. I think that's something we can provide. I think.
Yeah, I think our watershed folks are pretty good in that area around what you should do. And I know when they had those tree giveaways, that's what they were providing was native species that were hardy and and they tell you an asper you're going to put it. So I think they have a lot of expertise there. I think we could probably even start there, or Councillor Cox even sooner.
Yeah.
The one thing I was going to ask Dale, I guess, is has the province, I know there's certain things around buffer zones, and I know they were talking about increasing the fines. I don't know if that's gone anywhere yet. Minister Myers at one time was talking about that, but I think it is important. I think we got to also make sure that it's not just something that those with extra funds can bypass by paying fines, and so I think that the quicker we can do something.
Yeah.
You're speaking about clearing trees in the buffer zone?
Well, just, and we don't have a lot here, I guess, but just keep an eye on that because, some of the fines right now in some of those are not real high.
No.
So it's not really much of a deterrent to
No.
folks. So, again, just after having lost 40% of our trees last fall, I think the quicker we do this, the better.
Like I think we are lacking a bylaw and policies in certain areas when it comes to replanting into areas where companies come in and have wiped out a few acres to establish their project or their build. I think now we have to really, this is the time to start really putting that concretely down on paper. I don't think and that's not a knock against our town staff or former councillors. I just think things have changed after the hurricane, and I think too because of all the builds going on over here, and I think we have to have it be a little more proactive. And so when a builder, and I've talked to a couple builders about this, and they told me that if they knew before they built what is expected as far as what trees they have to replant or what trees they can't knock down, they said that's fine, as long as they know before they start. So that's where we have to get things in place and try to get that a little bit better established.
Yeah, and mix in some reasonableness there too. I mean, it's we can't win every battle that way, but
yeah.
The tree bylaw is on the work plan for Maddie to do, but she has so many other things right now that she's not able to get at it. We did have a discussion about that the other day. There was a request for an additional staff person in sustainability this year, and we weren't able to do that because of our budget and having that money clawed back from the government that we thought we were going to get, and we haven't seen any additional funds through revenue sharing in the last little while. So, it requires additional staff to do this. They're very time-consuming measures, but it is on her work plan.
Yeah.
But we're hopeful that this year we are going to be able to get that other staff person in there and be able to do that. But In the meantime, there are going to be trees cleared in certain areas, especially in the core area. Fairly soon, I would
Yeah.
say. There is some evidence that they are going to be clearing some of those areas and preparing some of those lots. So until then, we'll have to manage with what we have, but it definitely is on our work plan.
Yeah, and I've had many discussions with her, and she's doing a fantastic job. And now the switch program the deadline has stopped, but I was talking today, she's still dealing with files that are coming in from people looking to get paid and from people actually still applying, not knowing whatever. Like, she's still working on the switch program, but the fact that has dissipated some, that she's not as busy with that, so that'll give her some chance to work on some other things.
Yes, there still is the administrative side of that,
Yeah,
though, that we have
exactly.
to. And
But she's doing a great
there's-
job.
There's still
Right.
a lot of work left to do in that file, even though we're not actually installing units in homes anymore. But yes, we do have it on our work plan. But as Wendy mentioned, it's quite an exhaustive process to
Well,
make sure that we.
it's a
consult
major
everybody.
overhaul, so we have to be patient, but thank you very much.
Okay.
I want to add one thing. I talked to Maddie today, and tomorrow her and I going out to a number of sites that the Gray Group are working on as far as removing some trees. So we're going to go out tomorrow, her and I, walk those sites, get a better idea, and then we're meeting with the Gray Group in the afternoon. And they're on board with saving as many trees as well, so we're going to collaborate and work on that and move forward on that basis.
Thank
I
you.
think it's important to provide some of that communication, because it is going to be an eye-opener if there are large quantity of trees coming down, and residents will be wondering, what's to be done for replacement. And so I think if they understand that it is going to be done on a selective basis, and moreover that this council has a belief in continued reforestation, and eventually I think we will be into more of a focused approach and more defined numbers perhaps in what we can do within the town-owned properties in order to reforest, so that if there's trees taken down in one area, the town is going to plant trees in another area, not just talking residential component, I'm talking about town-owned areas along our trails and in our parks and that sort of thing. There's a lot more that we can do in that regard. And I think, we're not at a point yet where we can quantify that as to what it is we intend to do, but I think just hearing what councillors are saying over the last while, I think everyone's certainly on board in making sure that Stratford is as vegetative as it can be in relation to trees or canopy, as they say. And, I think the more we can relay that in different ways to the residents, so that they gain an understanding that this is an approach that we all want to take.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good segue into the next agenda item, if there are no more comments or questions on the sustainability report. I'll thank you for your report, Councillor Cox. Thank you for your sustainability report. And the segue is that as part of my committee, the Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability Committee, there was no meeting in June. We meet every 2 months. However, there was a major, milestone in terms of an annual milestone, which is the release of the resident survey, which, in the segue, I guess the link to the sustainability file is that 80% of, more than 80% of residents support spending resources on protecting our environment. And so, we take a lot of direction and a lot of guidance from that survey and the survey results. So the survey results have been communicated. There was a media release, and I think it's another good indication of the way people feel. It was another good response rate. There was over 900 people that responded, which is, I guess, in terms of the way surveys go, this is sort of really a really, what do they call it, statistically valid indication of the way people feel in our community. Yeah, with regards to anything else with regard to the intergovernmental affairs, I'll be meeting this Friday with the mayor of Summerside and the mayor of Charlottetown, and we'll be discussing, there's an agenda that I sent out to all councillors around things like housing and some of the other common issues that we're dealing with. This was a new sort of approach that's being led by Summerside Mayor Dan Kuchar. It's called the Urban Mayors Meeting, which I guess we'll be doing a couple times a year, just to work on common issues that we have across all three municipalities. We have had meetings with the provincial MLAs, and we'll be having another meeting on the 17th of with the Minister of Finance on the 17th of July, I think we are putting together an agenda for that. There will be, and that'll be circulated to council for your input. And we have, I guess I did get a chance to speak with Minister McCauley. I went to Deputy Mayor and I went to a Strawberry Social that he hosted on the weekend, and we did get a chance to speak to him and to the Minister of ACOA Minister, Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor, and just about some issues that we're dealing with here, and some funding, outstanding funding requests that we're going to be going forward with. Yeah, that's basically the situation with regard to intergovernmental affairs. Any comments or questions with regard to that file? Okay, we'll move on. Human resources. There's a HR memo in your package.
We're happy to welcome Alexander Brown to our Stratford team as the data manager for the Shape Stratford project. Alexander holds a master's degree in land use planning from Dalhousie University, which has equipped her with knowledge in an urban and rural planning, official plans, building, and construction. She has also experienced in land use bylaws, GIS, data management, data collection, and the interpretation and evaluation of policies and bylaws. Alexander has previously worked as a planner and development officer for the Halifax Regional Municipality and the province of PEI, where she gained valuable experience in planning and development field. We look forward to working with Alexander, and please join us and welcome her to our Stratford team. That's from Jeremy Crosby and myself here. And we met her last night with Shape Stratford, and she's quite excited coming on the team.
No, it's great to have. We have a very professional, and dedicated staff now. It's great to add new people that are in the same vein.
It's great that our CEO and deputy CEOs and management sees what we need, the way we're growing. You know what I mean? That we know, you guys are hands-on, and you guys need what we're all 100% behind you, and it's just the way the town's growing. We know the workload is heavy, and there's a lot of stuff on the table, and it's if we need to hire people, we have to hire people.
Anything you'd like to add, Jeremy? No?
It's only been a short time, but what we've seen so far is she's very engaged, and we're looking forward to working with her. The only problem we have now is we do have a good complement of staff now in the planning department again, and we're running out of space here, though. So that's the next hurdle we have to do here, was get some more space available here in the town hall, and we do have some office space that we're sharing with the provincial government that's taking up some space there also. So that'll be another thing that we'll have to look at in our strategic plan this year, is to make sure that we, one time we thought we would never fill this building, but now it's full, and we're going to need some more space in the near future. But there's still some other positions we're looking at, and this is a term position, but it's something that we could look at adding this person as a full-time person with us at the end of it, if things go well, and I'm sure they will. So, no.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, we'll move on to inquiries by members of council. Anything about the town that anyone would like to inquire about? Any file that, no? If not, we'll move on to other committees. Stratford Seniors Complex, and I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant to give the seniors report.
The old senior, I'm going to read it. Anyways, thank you, Your Worship. The kitchen cabinets are being completed, walk-in showers are completed in 10 units, sidewalk repairs are underway by Ostrich Brothers. The town is planting some new maple trees and replace trees that were lost in Fiona, the hurricane. Annual inspections have been completed. They were the inspection was in the afternoon. I was out there in the morning. I was there, but I missed them. And Viola Murley and Paulette, I guess. Yeah, Paulette. Stephen. Oh, Steve. Yeah, Steve Thompson. Yeah. Steve did the inspections, and talking to Viola at Mr. McCauley's socials, he said you missed it, and Steve went over really well when people talking, and they're very fortunate to have a facility like that. And she said the place is spotless and well organized and structure strong and everything else. And I was in there. It's really like the lobby area, the waiting area is beautiful.
It's a great model for
it's
seniors
a great,
affordable housing. Yeah.
It's, you know,
Yeah.
it's great. Working on getting tax information from tenants for New Year files, and currently on the wait list we have 22 people.
So it's growing, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe put another story on her.
Wow.
Yeah, but anyways, no, but it's
Demand is there.
it's a great facility. I mean, if everybody has a chance to take a walk over or go for coffee, it's great. And like I said earlier, but the heat pumps, be nice to I'll be looking at. I mean, it's 16 units. Be nice to have units. You know, it must be some government program. And I know I talked to Mr. McCauley about it. He says, you know, he's interested in it too, and it'd be nice to see something come together.
I'd love to meet with the Minister of CMHC to
Yeah.
talk about that, with the
Yeah.
need for a new seniors complex, and also for their definition of affordable housing, and you know,
Yeah.
try to get some changes to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, that's good. Thanks for your report. Any and the minutes of the meeting are there. Anything in the minutes that?
Yeah, we had a great meeting, and as always, Kim led the meeting, and everything went over really well, and all the participants, and Steve and Viola and so on, and it was great to have their input, and it's a great project, and like I always, hats off to Kim. She's well organized with this project.
Great. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, no appointments to any of the committees? No? No proclamations? No other business? Any other business anyone would like to bring to the floor at this time?
Other business per se, Your Worship. I just want to make mention that for the public's awareness that, and I know our staff will be providing some advertisement on this on behalf of the community fridge, which you declared open today. So it's a great benefit to our community to have that resource for those who require it.
And they are looking for volunteers, anything, and for people to help out, anything that people have that they have surplus or whatever, and they'd like to donate to the fridge. It's there. It's a great cause, and there are a lot of people in Stratford who struggle, and this is another way of helping them out. So I think it's great. Any other comments or questions? And no other business? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved. Thank you. We're now adjourned.